Hey, welcome to the 4RealTho show. Uh, we wanted to actually do this in June, okay? A lot of preparation. We actually had this show uh, back in 2017, 2016 in St. Louis, Missouri when I was living there, but moved to Columbus, Ohio. So, I had to get new production and all, and, it took some time to get it back going again, but we're back. So my plan was actually to start this in June. I wanted to give you an introduction to the show and to why we're doing the show, as a matter of fact. But some things have come up that have prompted me to just kind of do almost what you can call an emergency show to get this going. So, um, hey, let's get it going. So, what we want to talk about is death, grief, and anger. Okay, death, grief, and anger. When I was a kid, when I mean a little kid, I remember when somebody would die, it was like a really big deal to me. Like I remember thinking, wow, so and so died. Whoever I heard my parents talking about, or something like that. And I guess maybe I didn't have a sense of my mortality or anybody's mortality for that fact. I just thought, you know, wow, it was just an earth shattering, type of thing for me. As I got older, then I started to realize, okay, people do die. It's part of life, and maybe if they were close to me, I'd be more affected by it. If they were a relative, a friend, or something like that. I remember when I was in the fifth grade, one of my classmates died, and we went to her service. And I remember, she was a quiet girl, but I just remember, she was real sweet and quiet. And I remember going to her service, and again, that kind of gave me an inside look to say that, hey, somebody, who's a child could die, and she had a disease. I believe she had cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and then, when I became a teenager, I started seeing, violence on TV. It could be the Terminator or something like that, where a lot of people die. And, I know that there's a lot of talk, has been a lot of talk about violence on TV and seeing a bunch of people, get killed, even though they're not really dead. Uh, how that affects you psychologically. I'm not going to speak against that. I believe that has some merit for sure. Uh, and certainly everybody's brain is different. But again, I you know, experienced that like most of everyone. And then when it comes to death, you deal with like war and atrocities. Okay, uh, like say for instance the Gulf War. That's more my age group. I'm 53, so when Vietnam was going on, I was just a kid. I didn't realize that there was a war or anything like that. I didn't have anything in my reference point for suffering, people coming back lame, wounded, etc. I did have some guys I work with who were in the reserves, who went to Panama, who went to Grenada, and again, after that, subsequently the Gulf War. Um, then you see on TV, you know, uh, so and so got bombed, or so and so killed their own people, Assad or somebody like that. Uh, and come to grapple with it, from my recollection, again, personally, it didn't really affect me too much because it wasn't, somebody I knew. It seemed like it was a far away land. Um, then, obviously, you have something like, 9/11, again, a war and atrocities, if you will. That was obviously a big deal, and that hit close to home. Strangely enough, the first thing I did when the second plane hit the towers was I went to get some gas because I just knew that the gas was going to go up. I just knew that this country was wicked enough that the gas was going to go up. I just knew that's how it was going to go. I digress, but that's just how it went, So then then you can go to mass killings, Sandy Hook, Stoneman Douglas, Columbine. You know, those are places again where I can say that touched me. You know, and again, I'm just talking about, you know, me personally. Those touched me because, you know, you saw that there were kids, there were parents, you know, who really cared. And, you know, you can see how that really affected them, you know, the whole community, you know, the nation for that matter. So it was really telling. Uh, I didn't feel the anger. You know, I think I felt the anger maybe intellectually, but I didn't feel it, you know, say in my soul. Because again, I just wasn't connected. And then you have celebrity deaths, right? So, you know, whether it's Whitney Houston, I remember when Michael Jackson died. Uh, I think the way I felt was surprised but not shocked. I knew that he had seemed kind of sickly, and so I just wasn't shocked. But on the other hand, when Prince died, that just came out of nowhere. So I was really shook. Was really shook for quite a while because just to what his music meant to me, you know, growing up. And then, you know, let's talk about, you know, TV characters, right? I mean, people do grieve over TV characters. I certainly have. I don't know. Maybe you won't, will, or won't admit it, but you know, I grieved when Wallace was killed on The Wire. I grieved when Opie was killed on Sons of Anarchy. You know, those things really meant something to me. Like I really knew them, even though they were TV characters. So it is kind of strange to me, you know, just how we as people process death, how we process grief, how, you know, something can be, you know, all around us, but depending on the situation we in or how our mind thinks or how we cope, you know, and in terms of that fight or flight, you know, go to that we, you know, attach ourselves to for survival, you know, is how we process those things. You know, my wife has had a lot of deaths around her in terms of people she know, people she grew up with, friends of hers, children, relatives, close relatives of hers, you know, and some of it, you know, again, I'm just talking about myself, how I'm processing death, anger, and grief. You know, some of it I can say I hadn't been, you know, very attached to initially. You know, I remember not too long ago, she saw a status, you know, on her social media that somebody had passed, and immediately she's the kind of person that can go right into that grief. You know, she can put herself right in there. And I mean, it just happens automatically. And, you know, tears can come from her eyes. It could be somebody that she hadn't seen for years. Uh, but, you know, she'll be like, wow, you know, I know there are people are really having a hard time. I know, you know, that sort of thing. And so she immediately feels that. And I'm sort of sitting there kind of stone faced because I don't really know what to do because I don't know the person. It could be somebody I never heard of. Uh, and so I'm not connected to it. Doesn't mean that I don't care. You know, it doesn't mean that I don't care. I understand that it's a life, there's somebody hurting, you know, but I'm not connected to it. So it's not as easy for me, you know, to connect to it right away. So, uh, you know, I've noticed that, and, but at the same time, because it's affecting her, it affects me. And because I heard of a death that affected somebody else, it's affected me, even if I don't immediately grieve. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's in my spirit already because I heard about it. And I believe that as I got older, to a degree, I've gotten hardened to a lot of death. You know, again, it's like fight or flight. You have to decide how you're going to deal with it. And you can't internalize and feel everything every single time, or else you're just, you know, you just bury yourself, you know, in grief. Um, and so that kind of brings me to where I am now. It brings me to why I decided to do this particular recording now, as opposed to waiting to June when I can introduce you guys to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, you know, what my mission is and what my intentions are. because there have been some pressing issues that have come forth to where I understood in my heart that today I needed to do something today. Okay. So the first thing I can say, and maybe it's not the first thing, but the first thing that I can just pinpoint is the Ahmaud Arbery, murder. And obviously, you guys have seen it over the last weeks, where the brother was hunted down by, you know, at least 3 vigilantes who decided that they were gonna, take the law in their own hands and just assassinate a guy who hadn't, done anything to them. So you know about that. And then, there was this weekend issue with the Amy Cooper, okay, down in the Rambo in Central Park, where they're in the area where it's a bird watching area, it's a sanctuary. People go there to bird watch, take pictures, do their thing, and she's out there, with a dog on a leash. And according to the rules, she's supposed to have a dog on a leash. And so, young brother Christian Cooper decides to videotape her and ask her to leash her dog. And she goes into what I call her Carolyn Bryant. If you don't know who Carolyn Bryant is, she's the woman who accused Emmett Till of speaking to her, whistling at her, or whatever it is that got him killed. Okay, they got his body mutilated, and hopefully you know the story of that. So, seeing her not only tell him that, hey, I'm going to call 911 and say that an African American is threatening me, to see her put her finger in his face, to walk up to him, threatening him in an aggressive manner physically, when, and for all intents and purposes, he could have just slapped shit out of her, and, been standing his own ground, if you will. I don't know if they have standing ground in New York, but surely she walked up on him and he could have fucked her up, right? So, but he didn't. And then you saw her fade back, strangling the hell out the dog, and then begin to call 911. And, use her voice, her inflections to garner, this fear, that, oh my God, this African American is threatening me. Understanding full and well that what her voice would do, what those inflections would do to inspire the police to come out, and maybe shoot him, tase him, best case scenario, tackle him, best case scenario. But, regardless, obviously, if they just showed up at that moment, hey, we know how it goes down. They're not finna sit there and ask them questions. They're gonna react. I learned from an attorney friend of mine that those 911 tapes are actually used in a lot of criminal cases where people, where prosecutors show, what a person was feeling, that they were fearful, what have you, and that's used to justify actions, whether you're, self-defense, or justify a sentencing, that somebody brought some sort of terror on them. So in this case, even though she knew, it was just all premeditated, and she used that to her advantage. So she could say she's not a racist, or, somebody like her in a diversity meeting at her job that she used to have, would say that, she's not a racist, and she doesn't, understand why, Black people feel the way they do. Well, see, she certainly does, because she put herself in a position and acted in Academy Award fashion to garner that kind of attention. And then finally, we get to George Floyd, the brother who was assassinated, straight murdered on the streets of Minneapolis. And I believe that was kind of the straw. So, last night, I was really wrestling with this. I went outside, I got off work, did my thing, went outside, smoked myself a cigar, um, had me a little drink, and I just tried to relax and process this thing, because I'm feeling all this anger, I'm feeling all this grief, I'm feeling the burden of his death, and in the way it happened, and so I'm sitting there and I'm grappling with it, and I don't think that I'm the only one that's been really grappling with it. A lot of us have gone on the social media and we said how we felt. We've talked to our friends on the phone. I've certainly texted a few friends, um, gone back and forth on social media with friends, and but there was just something deeper. There's something deeper about this. It seems like something broke, inside of me, and I believe inside of a lot of people, because even though we've seen this with Philando Castile, we've seen this with Eric Gardner, we've seen this with Michael Brown, we've seen this with Trayvon Martin, we've seen this with Tamir Rice, we've seen this with Oscar Grant, and so forth and so on, and we've all, had our own grievings in those times. Uh, I'm not saying this is necessarily different, but it's just this is the time I'm in right now. So I'm processing it different. And I became curious about the way I was processing it and uh, what to do with it, what to do with it. So I put this on my social media last night, and I'll read it to you. I said, not that I'm alone, not that I'm alone. I'm so pissed, disgusted, hurt, grieved, frustrated, angry. Being black in this country is a mother every damn day. And so obviously I'm pissed about the murder, okay, watching a policeman, a fucking asshole stick his knee in somebody's neck, just because he could for 10 fucking minutes till he, died. Disgusted, by what I saw in the video. Thankful that the video's there, but disgusted, okay? Hurt and grieved for the family, hurt and grieved for myself, hurt and grieved for everybody who loves him personally. Uh, I got friends that I care about, family. I got family and friends that care about me. And although I understand that life is not guaranteed, no days are particularly guaranteed, you don't expect necessarily something like this to happen. You don't expect them to be just randomly killed by the police, or anybody else for that matter. So that's, so I feel that. I can't not disassociate that from myself, even though I don't know this brother, even though I've been desensitized to a lot of other, killings, if you will, and deaths, you know, uh, throughout society. Uh, angry because, you just get tired. You just get tired, especially when prosecutors let these people off. They go to the grand juries, they fake ass grand juries, and, knowing that, they can get what they want out of them. So as I'm sitting here and grappling with this, I'm sitting outside and, I just became curious as to how I was feeling. And this grief, this anger, and I didn't feel like I didn't want to just turn it off. I wanted to deal with it. And so, I became curious about it and started to analyze it. And then I just said, you know what? I need to express some things today. And hopefully it'll help me and hopefully it'll help you. Because I know that I'm not the only one dealing with this grief. I know I'm not the only one. And, I think, when it comes to this, I think the first thing you want to know is what do you have to do for yourself? And then what can you do for the situation, and for others? So let's start with what, not to do. Let's start with what not to do. One thing you shouldn't do okay, is just press fast, press fast forward and move beyond it. Um, it's not a good idea. I actually called my mom today. I took a break from work and I decided to give her a call because I just wanted to hear her voice and because I was grieving and angry and restless and I didn't really know how to deal with these feelings that I had inside. And I didn't expect her to solve it. I just kind of wanted to get it off my chest. And one of the things she said to me was, well, son, you have to pray about it. You have to pray. And my mom's, really a great woman of faith and, uh, prayer served her well, all her life. And, she's really a model in that regard. And, another thing, she talked about is, just kind of, doing my part, moving forward, you know what I mean? Like you can't let it get to you type of thing. And, to that, I can say I agree, I agree to some degree. I agree to disagree, in some fashion, form of fashion, at time and place. So prayer, is a great thing. I believe that you pray for things that you cannot do. I believe that you pray for, when you don't have the answers, you pray for wisdom, you pray for knowledge, you pray for understanding. Uh, there's another group of people that don't necessarily just pray. They make things happen, and I'll get to that. And I also don't think that I could just go past it or try to go past it, because I believe that there's a certain, post-traumatic stress syndrome that you bring upon yourself when you just hold all these things in. Obviously, if we reacted to every single thing that we felt and every single injustice that we hear about, read about, witness in person, on television, what have you, you're just going to get buried, so there is a particular fight or flight thing that happens to us as humans, where we're able to compartmentalize things and, deal with them. And there's a time for that. But let me tell you something else. I was talking to a friend of mine not long ago, and I don't quite remember what it was. It might have been about the Ahmaud Arbery thing, but I remember what she said was, well, Chris, I'm just going to pray about it and leave it in the Lord's hands. And what I told her, I said, and she also said that, it's just sad. It's just sad that these things happen. And one of the things I told her, I said, well, what you got to understand is that, you're a Black woman. But when white evangelicals feel a certain type of way about something, even though they go to church, they don't just pray. They lobby, they organize, they deal with their congressman, their mayor, they lobby 45. They don't care about how many women he went up in. They don't care about him fucking around on Melania or, his last wife. They don't care about Stormy Daniels, raw dog without a bag. They don't care about none of this stuff. They care about them judges. They care about abortion. They care about the Supreme Court. They care about getting their agenda done. Okay. So they don't just pray. And it's something about Black people that we feel helpless, and we use these helpless words, like, that's so sad. Oh, it's so sad that happened. It's so sad that Tamir Rice was gunned down that way. It's so sad, that Ahmaud Arbery was shot that way. And the fact of the matter is, those words never move you to action, though. You see, they never move anyone to action. Sad is it's a very passive word. It's a very passive phrase. So, but you know what makes you move? Anger. Anger makes you move. Okay. I'm not necessarily saying rage, but anger. Anger will provoke you to do something. Let's say you sit at home and somebody's breaking in your house. You're not going to say, oh my God, that's just so sad. The youth of today, poverty's at an all-time high, I understand. But it's so sad that people don't, do something with their lives and, make something of themselves. They want to come in here and rob and steal and maim other people. You don't say that. You get angry. You do what you have to do to protect yourself and protect your family. You're not going to sit there and let your you know, your kids get beat up, your wife raped or something like that, you know, talking about something sad, you're going to move. You're not going to sit there and pray that the Lord help you in that situation. You don't get off your ass and you're going to do something. Just like those white evangelicals will, right? If you're hungry, you're not going to pray, you know, for guidance and wisdom on how to walk in there and get their refrigerator open or their cupboard. You're going to do what you got to do. You're not going to ask God for light. You're going to flick the light on if you got them, right? So what I'm saying is that, you know, even if we're people of faith, there's a time for faith, there's a time to pray, and there's a time for action. And you know, you have to know the difference. You have to know when you're supposed to do something. Okay. You again, pray for wisdom, pray for knowledge, pray for understanding, to applying what it is that you could contribute and how you can contribute it. Okay. So that's what we don't want to do. Okay. But what we do want to do is we want to find out where our lane is, when we can help. You know, again, I talked about, you know, again, and we'll review this soon, talk about, you know, again, you got to sit with this anger. You have to deal with it. You can't just push it off. You can't pray it off. You have to sit with it and deal with it. You have to resonate with it. You have to feel it in your chest and understand what it means to you to grieve the way you're grieving and why you're grieving, why you're upset, why you're angry. And then let that help you figure out where your lane is to help. So say, you know, you may say, well, what can I do? You know, where is my lane? You know, what can I do to help? You know, I see a lot going on, people protesting this, that, and the other. Well, the truth of the matter is I can't tell you. I can't tell you where your lane is because everybody has a different lane. Okay. I've protested before. I've been in the mix of that. You know, but everybody's not a protester. Okay. Good friend of mine is an attorney. Okay. White Jewish attorney. And I'd be hard pressed to find him protesting with me, but at the same time, he's very passionate and vigorous about representing those who are the least of them, you know, representing people who may have gotten railroaded by the system. He's very passionate about that. As a matter of fact, we were texting late last night about the situation in Minneapolis. And he said, hey, Chris, I can't really get into it right now, but I'm working on some things. And, you know, hey, it may really be big, you know, in terms of me helping to make a difference. And, you know, what I told him was, man, hey, man, you're a hero. You're a hero because you're doing your part. You know, I don't have to actually do somebody else's part. You have to do your part. Part of my part, even though, you know, and understand you can do, maybe you might do several different things. Okay. But there's at least one or two main things that are really mean something to you. Okay. So for instance, this here, this show, this platform is part of my passion. Okay. It's part of my contribution. This isn't just an ego tripping thing for me. I'm not just, you know, trying to get likes or anything like that. I'm trying to make a contribution by sharing my heart, and hopefully, you know, it'll help someone else to critically think, to explore, to be curious about themselves, and to find their own place and what they can actually do in these situations, you know, in life, in tragedy, in grief, in anger. You know, that's partly why, again, I couldn't wait to June when I just wanted to have everything the way I wanted to have it. You know, now I got a jacked up background, shadows all over the place, but it just had to be done because I had to get this out today. Like I had to get it done today. So you know, you got to be real and passionate and understand this. You don't have to be a do-gooder to do good. And the reason why I say this is because, again, my lawyer friend, when we were talking about this, he said, hey, one of the things he said was, hey, you know, I'm not saying that all of this is altruistic. So he understands that even though he's not a black male or a black person at all, that he can't really totally relate to how I feel, you know, or how my brother or how my sisters, you know, feel, how my friends feel, my family. He resonates with that. He understands that. But at the same time, he empathizes intellectually at the very least. And because he cares about me, cares about what I care about. And so, he's the type of guy, he's going to ask me questions that maybe a lot of white people would be afraid to, ask me. One of the things he said was, is this what Barack Obama meant? When he said that Trayvon Martin could have been my son. And, I'm like, yeah, man, that's exactly what he meant. It's absolutely what he meant. But, I see him trying, so that's his lane. His lane is using the law and representing those who can't represent themselves. And, so I'm thankful for that, right? So you have to find your lane and what you're passionate about. What will move you to action to help, the society. Hey, tell you what, maybe you're not a protester. Maybe you're not wanting to get in the public eye, but maybe you really want to know about what's going on in City Hall, your city council. Maybe you want to help other people to get out here and vote. Maybe you want to know what's going on with your judges, in your district. Uh, that kind of thing. Maybe, maybe, maybe your thing is to just raise really good, strong young men and women, your children, giving them the tools, really making sure that they're psychologically sound, um, educationally sound, spiritually sound, so they can, you know, navigate their way, through this world. Maybe that's your contribution. Maybe that's one of your contributions. And if that's the case, that's cool. Do that. Do that knowing that it means something. You don't have to compare yourself to other people, and what they're doing. You don't have to be Ben Crump or, anything like that. You don't have to be Jay-Z. Okay, but understand that Jay-Z has a platform. And based on, his music, you know, what it has given him, it allows him to have a voice, right? LeBron James, he could play basketball for free, but it don't mean he's gonna play in the NBA for free. Okay, but he could take that, do the best he can with it, what he's passionate about, that would allow him to be able to do other things. So again, it doesn't have to be an altruistic, mission. You can make money, doing great things. With my platform, yeah, I love to have a podcast, you know, be on Spotify, Stitcher, or what have you, Apple Music, whatever, right? Have sponsors, have it pay for itself. I would love to, you know, do things and have it make me a millionaire, totally financially independent. That may or may not happen, but guess what? I'm doing this right now because it means something to me. It's a passion of mine. I'm doing all the investing. I'm investing in equipment. I'm investing in time. I'm investing in putting these little backgrounds and green screens together, my fake green screen, so I can, have this tonight. And so nobody's paying me for this. I'm going to do it because it means something to me. This is part of my contribution. Okay. And so you have to find yours. I was talking to a young lady not long ago. We were just kind of going back and forth on, a text and, well, no, I'm sorry, not a text, but a Facebook post. And she's a young lady. She's got 2 kids and a husband. And she said, I'm not sure that I'm really worth anything. I can't see what I'm really worth, where my value is. And, I understood exactly what she was talking about. Again, she's a happy-go-lucky person, beautiful spirit, again, mother, uh, wife. And I'm sure up until this point, once she got out of high school and started living her life as an adult, she got married, she had kids, and then all of a sudden, all her life is about, the kids. It's about being a wife. And she finally got to this point in her life where there had to be something more. Okay. And that just wasn't getting it. And so, some people chiming in saying, hey, you're a great dancer, you have great personality, this and the other. And she was like, man, you guys really don't know me. Name me one thing that I'm really valuable at, that I really, is a contribution that I'm making. And they couldn't answer. So what I told her was, I said, hey, I can't tell you what it is, but it's within you. Okay. It's within you. And maybe you've pushed it away because you've been worried about your mission to do other things. Um, but it's there. And maybe you got to take some time away. You know, maybe you need to do some meditating to see where your place is and learn what it is that you're really passionate about, what moves you, what may move you to cry. What would you do for free? You know, what provokes you to action? And so she got it. She got it. And she said, you know what, Unc, I'm gonna have to, step away and figure out what it is that I really need to do and what I'm really about. And I applaud her for that. And she's gonna find out, because part of that yearning, part of that hunger is what's pushing her to get to it. You see, it's all very organic. You don't have to look for long. You don't have to search far and wide for what you're supposed to be doing. It's right there. It's right there. So whatever it is you need to be about, you need to be about it. To make a difference, no matter what it is. You may be a protester. You may not. Hey, it's okay. But whatever it is, if you're getting the word out, if you're serious about it, if you're passionate about it, and and it's real to you, then by all means go out and do that. So, again, so again, wrapping this up, I'm not gonna keep you. Again, I would encourage you to deal with your grief, deal with your anger, um, deal with death, what it means to you. Don't just push it away. Don't become so desensitized. And again, everything is not going to move you, but some things will. And when they do, go ahead and sit with it. And then see, hey, what can I add? What can I bring to the table that's going to make this world better? Uh, Everybody has a role. Everybody has a lane. This is part of my lane. This is part of my lane. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So it's basically what I got for you. Remember, man, you can't just pray this thing away. You can't use phrases like sad. Those are very passive words. You have to be moved to action. You have to be angry. You have to be stirred up, on the inside to do what you do. And again, if you're a person of faith, hey, pray for strength, pray for wisdom, learn from your mistakes. This right here, this crappy background, hey, I'm learning from it, right? I'm going to order myself a nice green screen. I'm going to learn from it. I'm not going to kick myself, because I had a shitty first show in terms of my screen. Hopefully the substance of what I'm talking about will be good enough for this time, okay? But deal with it, man. Deal with it. Deal with yourself. Add a contribution. Add your contribution. Don't try to compare it to nobody else's. Do your thing. Do it well, all right? Be blessed.